like in most entrepreneurial companies, you become a great designer, and then one day somebody says, well, now you're a manager, and you got people to manage, and you've had no training whatsoever, or no experience whatsoever in doing that. And as we all know, dealing with human beings, dealing with people in the workplace is probably the toughest part of being a manager. I mean, it's easy to get a game plan and try to execute it. Dealing with people, motivating people, leading people is quite another story. And so we thought that we would start to try to provide you with some background and education on how to handle leadership behavior, leadership questions. And really at some point in time, not today because Cheryl's asked me to do something specific today, but we will be talking about the difference between management and leadership. And there's a clear distinction between those two. Also, as we go through this, what we're going to go through today, and what Cheryl's asked me to go through, because I think you got a bunch of these coming up, is performance reviews, how to do a performance review. And one of the things that becomes so important in doing a performance review is understanding what your role is and what the purpose of doing a performance review is. So,
Sorry,
so if I asked, who should I ask? If I asked you, Margaret, what's the purpose of a performance review?
I guess to assess the work level of the individual, perhaps how they've grown through the year, what their accomplishments have been, and perhaps where they fall within the company workforce.
Yes, and that's in part what I think everybody in here would say, and it's in part true. I think you would add that it's the time of year where you want to make sure the alignment of your view based on what we're going to go through and the employee's view of performance is the same. And what you want to see from that employee in the future. And you must align those goals. You must align that viewpoint before that performance review is over, or you're not going to have the employee striving for what is intended. Furthermore, if you walk away with differing opinions, that brings about, at some point in time, some emotional responses as to the determination of whether somebody did or did not do a good job. And in the performance of your duties as a manager giving a performance review, emotion is not part of that review. We're all human beings. We have people we like, we have emotions, but the performance review is not a time to have those emotions or to display those emotions. And one of the things that causes emotions to come out in people who have not or who are not skilled in a performance review is the fact that you're dealing with subjective matter as opposed to objective matter. And so a performance review is not about behavioral issues. It's about performance issues. Those performance guidelines need to be set well in advance of the time you're going to do a performance review, because you can't review somebody on criteria that you've not explained to them and put out to them as to what is expected of them. And again, when you're dealing with factual, measurable performance criteria, there isn't any argument. You either did or you didn't. Now, you might have somebody that says, gives you a million reasons why not. And you can be the judge as to whether or not any of that carries validity. But the criteria, there should be no disagreement about. You either did or did not perform and achieve what you were supposed to achieve. So objectivity in doing the performance review is absolutely critical. The issues of behavior and your opinion about behavior, it's not that they don't have a place at all. It's not that you're not going to have those feelings, but it's just, this is not the place for it. The performance review is not the place for it. All performance reviews absolutely must be based on objective criteria. So when you see these questions on a performance review, like, do you have a good work ethic? Or those are opinions. I mean, unless you have a criteria for measuring that, that's an opinion. I may be talking to an employee who thinks they have a great work ethic, and I may not think so. What's the foundation of why I don't think so? Is there a measurement, or is it a gut feeling? My gut feeling may be different than somebody else's gut feeling. So you want your criteria to be based on objective material. And furthermore, if you're dealing with a team member who you work with every day, which I'll make some more comments on, but it's very difficult to try to give a negative performance review. But it's your job. And as long as it's not based on emotion, as long as it's based on real facts, remember the purpose of giving somebody a poor or unsatisfactory review is that they haven't achieved something they were supposed to achieve. Your purpose is not to punish that person. Your purpose is to try to understand why they didn't achieve it and provide them with the resources to achieve it. That doesn't mean everybody will make the grade, but our as a company who wants to have people and train them the proper way and give them the opportunity to succeed, not the opportunity to fail, it's up to us to give them the guidance, the help, and the resources to be successful. After that, the rest lies with the employee. And things like work ethic and all, they show up in data. I mean, if you have a great work ethic, you're going to achieve. You know, some people may be faster than others. Maybe some people work more hours than others. If your production ends up okay, or some other criteria that we happen to be measuring, it doesn't matter. You've been successful. You've achieved what you were supposed to achieve. Additionally, some of you, as you go and forward with your careers, may find that because of your own emotional makeup, you don't really like being the manager of a lot of people. And that's okay. I mean, it does define how far you can go to a certain degree as a leader manager. But, you know, if you want to just be a great designer and not cause trouble for the organization, that's okay. You know, there's a place. But to be a leader, to manage people, which gives you the greatest opportunity for success, you have to be more than that. You have to know more than that. And you have to be able to teach the people that you're mentoring, that work on your team, those areas of knowledge that will help them be successful. Just refer to this for a second.
Can I have
Sure.
a question? In all of our performance reviews in the past, we do have things like work ethic, attitude, and that kind of thing. I mean, what if somebody's like, it can be objective, like they get here every morning at 6 and I know they work from home. I mean, or do you just want us to take all of those out of the whole behavioral?
Well, let me pose the question back to you. So, you're talking about somebody that you know has a good work ethic,
Right, I'm just saying, because that is in all of our performance
Right.
reviews now.
but, you know, what you and I talked about is, I don't mind the comment being there, but you can't give it much weight. I mean, because again, that, if you're working hard, wouldn't that manifest itself in some of the data? I mean, are you working hard or are you spinning wheels? You're spending a lot of time, but you're not getting the results. Or are you getting the results? Because that's what we need. This company cannot be successful. You know, we've been going through a lot of analytics for the design department. And steadily over the years, the productivity of the design department has gone down. That is in part due to what happened initially with our out-of-town travel and the way in which we completed those jobs. But we don't know that that's all of it. All we can do is hope to train all of you how to be good leaders and create the effectiveness in the organization going downward that will help us be more efficient. So we need to get better as a design department. I know everybody in here, and all departments, but I know everybody in here would like to receive salary increases, bonuses, whatever. And that's a recognition of your hard work. We have been unable to do that in the last 4 to 5 years, certainly not because of the inefficiency of the design department, but because of the industry. But now we're trying to climb out of that. We've got a lot of business on the books, and if we can be efficient, there will be money for all of those programs. In fact, I know in anticipation of that, the company is getting close to having an incentive plan for the design department. So, because our marketing department, which brings in the business, and our design department, which produces the business, are the most important parts of the wheel. We can't function without every other part of the wheel. We can't function without having a great warehousing operation and all of our other departments being efficient. But it all starts with those two departments.
Can we go back to that for a minute? Are you asking, Cheryl, should we do away with that part of the performance review because it is not objective, but instead subjective? It doesn't say, well, does she come to work on time? Does she work overtime?
Right.
Does she work from home on the weekends? Aren't those more the questions that you're asking about and not
Right.
my opinion of whether you have a good work ethic?
Well,
Right,
I
and
think we
attitude and-
kind of address just the hours part, because that's clearly an objective thing through Harvest. But it's more involved than that, because if you have somebody that puts in a tremendous amount of hours, but they take 20% longer to do a job than the next person, the net benefit to the company is not that clear. You have to take into account what the production is in what amount of time. So for each of these things, there is a mathematical answer, but again, I think your opinions, when it comes to people getting promoted in certain ways, when it comes to people taking a certain track in the department, career track in the department, I think your opinions could have an influence on that. But we're at performance review time, and isn't it about what the person has achieved? You know, if you don't care for their personality, but they've been a great achiever for you, I say learn to love them, you know? I mean, it's so hard to find people that will have the ethic and the drive to perform up to the standards you would like to perform. And we're all different.